So today what we're going to look at is the oil service for the Mini Cooper. This is actually a Mini Cooper S, so this is an R53, but it's the same service for all Gen 1 cars. So that's the Mini 1, Mini Cooper and Mini Cooper S. They're all basically the same oil service. So there's three service types. There's the oil service, which we'll do today. There's the inspection 1 and the inspection 2, and they all need to be done consecutively. So today is just the oil service. When you do the inspection 1, you do the oil service and inspection 1, and then when you do the inspection 2, there'll be the oil service inspection 1 and inspection 2 to be done. So I'll put links at the end of this video and in the description for those other services. So if you want to do an inspection 2, you have to do this, then the inspection 1, then the inspection 2. So the things you'll need for the oil service is obviously oil. So it takes 4.5 litres. So a big can like this is good because it leaves you a bit for top-ups. You need a pollen filter. You'll also need the oil filter, and if you're not extracting the oil via the dipstick with a pump, then you'll need an entire sump plug. The reason for that is the sump plug has actually got the washer built in. Normally you just replace like the copper washer, but with Mini they have the entire sump plug and washer together, so you will need one of them if you're not going through the dipstick, which I'll go through in a second. So what we'll get onto now is I'll show you what tools you need, and then we'll start changing the oil. Servicing the Mini, you don't need many tools at all. The main tools you need are a flathead screwdriver, and that's just to get the seal off the oil filter. You need a ratchet, and if you're not using a suction pump, which I'll get to in a minute, then you'll need a 13mm socket just to take the sump plug off. Now a tool you might not have, or a piece you might not have, is a 36mm socket for taking the oil filter off. Now I did have a 36mm, but it was quite chunky and I couldn't actually get it in, so I had to buy this just to service the Mini. But I'll put a link to it in the description. Like I said, I didn't have one, so you might not have one unless you've serviced other BMWs. I think they're quite popular on BMWs, but it's an essential tool basically. Without it you can't get the filter off. So the optional tools are a tread depth gauge, a suction tank. Now I did go under the car and see how easy it was to get to the sump plug, and it's really difficult. Unless you've got a ramp to stick the car on, I think you're going to struggle. And this just makes it so much easier. Since I bought this, I service the cars without any issue, and I don't worry about spilling it all over the driveway. And finally an oil pot. This just makes it far easier to pour the oil in. But this and this and this are all optional. Essentially all you need is a screwdriver and a ratchet, a 36 and potentially a 13, and that's it. And I'll put a link to all of these items on the description below. So let's get on and service the car. So let's get started with the service. What we'll do first is, while the engine's nice and warm, I've just taken it out for a run. I'm going to suck out the oil. When you're doing it, the engine has to be warm because then the oil gets a lot thinner. You'll suck out more. Also the debris from the bottom of the sump will be mixed up with the oil. So don't do it cold. Whether you're using the pump or using the sump plug, always make sure the engine's hot. What you have to remember though, if the engine is very hot, the oil could be, I don't know, 60-70 degrees temperature, centigrade. If you're taking it out on the sump plug, there's a good chance or a possibility of scalding. So this is why, another reason why I always use the sump, the pump, just purely it's clean out and I don't burn myself. So let's get on with the show. Let's start sucking out the oil. Sucking out the oil is really easy. All you need to do is remove the dipstick, down so it doesn't drip everywhere. That thinnest tube, where is it there? Pop it down till it's the bottom and bring it a fraction up. Oops. And there it comes. Some pressure into it. Oopsie. And there it goes. So now all we need to do is wait. If you are doing it via the sun plug, I'll show you where the sun plug is now. Okay, so the sun plug is actually located in the middle of the car. So you can get to it, in theory, on either side at the back of the engine. So if I can find them. So you have the subframe there, and it's pretty much there. Hopefully that's come up on the camera. It is an absolute sod to get to, and especially as this car's, what, 6 inches off the floor, or 5 inches. It's not going to be fun to get to. I would, because it's at the back of the engine in the center, I suppose you could put it up on ramps. Certainly don't jack it up, because that will just send one side up and all the oil will slip to the other. But so try ramps. I'm personally probably not going to ever do it, because it's a nightmare to get to. Okay, so while the oil is draining from the engine, we'll let it cool down so we can do the oil filter. We'll do the pollen filter. So the pollen filter is on the passenger side. So in the UK it's on the left hand side. In America it'll be on the right. Whoops, sorry, my finger. And it's this cover here. So you might have some screws. I don't. Not all models do. So there's 4 screws on them. And on mine, like I said, they're not. And if you just reach up and pull, and it pops. There you can see it. And it actually, it's quite a long thing, and it curves up. And you can see here that there's some guides. So when you put the new one in, you have to make sure it's in the guide and it goes up. So I'll just pull this one out. It's looking terrible, actually. Get rid of that. So the airflow is, so if I turn this the right way, you can see that there's some signs saying airflow. So the airflow is coming from the top down, so this is the way you want it in. So like I said, make sure it's on those guides and feed it all the way back. And then we'll move on to the oil filter. So while I've been doing the pollen filter, the oil has now all come out. You can see each one of these lines is a litre. So I know I've got exactly 4.5 litres out, which is great, which is exactly where it should be. So I'll pull that out, but next we'll do the oil filter, which is located at the back of the engine. So where you see the Mini is just behind there, and it's, get in focus, this here. So that there is 36mm socket, and because there's not that much room, instead of just getting the big chunky one, I would get the proper filter one, just because it's far more slimline. So before I start doing that, I'm just going to pop a piece of rag down the back, because when this comes off it will leak just a little bit. And this is why you need to let the engine cool down, because there's the exhaust manifold at the back, so it'll be absolutely roasting. So yeah, if it's still hot, just go and have a cup of tea or coffee and wait for it to cool down. So I'll get the 36mm socket, pop that off, and pop in the new cartridge. So there you have it. There's not much room down there. There's a fair amount of oil dripping from it. So discard that. You'll see here the rubber ring. Pop that off. You've got a new one in here. hopefully. Swap over the rubber rings, pop it back on. Don't over tighten it. It's got a rubber ring, so you don't need to tighten the hell out of it. And that's your filter done. So there you go, there's the new filter. It's got a rubber seal at the top, and you have to push it down onto the retaining sprocket at the bottom. So just give it a good push. It's got the new seal on it as well. So just pop it in and hand tighten it, and it needs to go clockwise. So turn it towards the front of the car. To reset the service interval, what you need to do, with the key off, press and hold, then put it to position 1, and it'll come up with test. Hold it for 5 seconds, and release and hold again for the next 5 seconds, and then release, press it again, it'll come up with end SIA, and you're done. So that will then bring up the next service interval. If you found this video useful, why not click on like so other people can find it? And if you want to subscribe, I'll be doing lots more videos on VWs and Minis and Land Rovers and MGs and lots of other cars and things. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.